BST 2016. This is interviews, music reviews, and more. This is The Hodder Show.
What is up, everybody? We are rolling out of you here today on episode 374 of The Hodder Show. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you so very much for tuning in and clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast. I have a stellar episode for you here today, as I try to every single week right here on The Hodder Show. I'm sitting down with my buddy, Tanner Wood, who is the co-creator and executive producer and voice talent for Baseline Feed, one of my favorite podcasts. And we just have a really fun time. The first time that Tanner was on the show up, actually about a year ago, we didn't really know each other all that well. And over the last year, we've really gotten to be pretty close and quite good friends. So it was fun to get to have him back on. We, of course, talk about season 2 that just wrapped up and the growth that Baseline Feed has had, and he himself has experienced in his own personal life and also with his production and sound design as the season has progressed. We also talk about my appearances on the show, voice acting in general, and we actually have a really fun ad-lib moment that was totally unexpected but kind of hilarious near the end there. So stay tuned. It's a really wonderful chat, and I know you guys are going to enjoy every second of it. I want to thank everybody for their support on last week's episode of the show, my chat with my buddy Ali from Seagrave, formerly of Out of My League. A lot of people really enjoyed that chat, so thank you very much to Ali. If you are a fan of Seagrave or you were a fan of Out of My League, go check it out because it was a really wonderful episode, and Ali is a fantastic storyteller, so go check it out. Really a lot of fun. Thanks again, Ali, for jumping on the show. And with that, we're ready to roll into my chat with Mr. Tanner Wood from Baseline Feed. Let's get into it. So we're here with one of my favorite creators in the podcast world, but also just one of my favorite people, I'm going to be honest. His podcast just wrapped up their second season, and it is an absolute doozy. I could not be happier to welcome back onto the show my buddy, Mr. Tanner Wood from Baseline Feed. Tanner.
Hello.
What's up, buddy?
I just hanging out, man. Had a fun Mother's Day, and I hurt my toe, fixed the Jeep. And
what the hell happened?
Well, I don't know. You can see behind me. You see that little baby gate over there going towards my workout room? I tried to jump over it and kind of missed and smashed my foot. It's a little embarrassing. I'm going to be honest.
Well, that's okay. I burnt myself actually pretty good on my thumb by touching a light bulb. So you know, we're off to a rolling start, buddy.
A light bulb, you clown.
Who burns himself on a light bulb? Like I literally like this stupid light here, and I was like, oh, the little bulb's coming out. I'm going to push it back in. Oh, hot stuff is hot. Like,
well, see, that's why we as a nation are moving towards LED lights. They don't get quite as hot. You may want to step up your game a little bit.
Yeah, this is I've had this lamp for 14 years, I think, give or take. So yeah, I think I need to upgrade to maybe an LED lamp so I don't burn myself.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of burns, I did, like I said, I was working on the old Jeep. I was doing some wiring that I probably shouldn't have been doing. And I have never soldered anything in my entire life. So I was soldering things on my Jeep, for some of the relays or whatever. It's a piece of crap. But I touched the soldering iron with the end of my finger, and it hurted a bunch. It was so bad.
Oh, man.
And then I cried, and then I called my wife because she, for her job, she did a lot of soldering. So I was like, honey, can you please help me? And it took a lot of like humility to do that. But I'm really glad that I did because she killed it. And now the Jeep runs. Yay.
Sometimes you got to ask the wife for help. I get it. You know.
Yeah, she's pretty cool, though. She's pretty all right.
It's nice. Isn't it great to have just like an awesome wife? Isn't that just like the best thing ever?
Yeah. It's something. Awesome wives are awesome.
Awesome wives are awesome. That's right. We need that on a t-shirt. But man, like it's so crazy now. Like just before we started, I was looking back. I didn't realize it had been basically just a year since you were on the podcast for the first time, and really since Baseline Feed kind of launched. Like it's maybe not quite a year for it to launch, but it's wild to think how much has happened in this year, but then also like, you know, how things are kind of still
in our lives.
Yeah.
All of the things have happened in our lives. Yeah, we did. It has been a while since I've been on the show with you, and it's kind of cool to be back. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. And like I said,
I am the humble guest.
this conversation is not going to be like we're listen, Tan's my buddy. We're just going to talk some shit today. But the first time when you were on, obviously with CM, who, by the way, folks, will be on her Own shortly, hopefully, because we have a lot of stuff to talk with hers. Will, I didn't really know you guys that well. So it's like, okay, I know like they're cool people and they're really talented creators, but like,
yeah, we had just
conversation.
Yeah, we had just become friends on Discord through another podcast, and yeah, I didn't know who the hell you were. You're just some weird Canadian dude with a beard, and I was like, well, publicity is publicity, I suppose. So I said yes, but you turned out to be an all right guy, pretty all right human being in general.
Well, you're pretty all right too, man. I appreciate that.
Thanks, buddy.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Oh man, but like when you were on, like literally, you guys had just dropped like obviously the first episode of the first season,
the first one,
and as we dropped the episode on April 14th of 2022, you guys had dropped episode 2, and then part 2 would come out a couple days later.
Yep,
which was the worst of the worst, which
is the title of the story.
Yes. And it's so cool to just, and I want to get into this with you because just I'm just curious on my own. Going from season 1 to season 2, there's a very overall, a lot of things are upgraded. You know, like you guys started off with great sound quality, great production, great sound design, but you step things up even more for season 2. What kind of was like the process going into it? What was your attitude going into season 2 compared to what you guys did with season 1?
Well, I think the main attitude that I was going for from a producer perspective was how do we get our listeners to come back? And it's not just giving, part 1, part 2, like we did with the worst of the worst in Hillside House, but it's how can we create even like a little mini series or have them come back and listen, or let's give them something remarkable that we did to talk about. Give them some one-liners from stories that they can talk about, which I think in season 2 we actually did end up delivering, which was pretty cool. And I think after season 1, we just looked back at what we had already done and said, how can we just make it better? So part of me, I actually kind of want to go back just on my own time and basically remaster a few episodes in season 1 just for old time's sake, to make sure that we got what we got, bring the quality up to where, just in terms of production, because obviously we're all learning our voice actor roles. We're learning production. Like we wanted to get better. That was just it. We wanted to be better than the last episode. All of us did. And what actually really helped out a lot is we ended up getting a lot more interest, at least from some of our friends on Discord and from people outside of the podcast, because we did open our submissions for season 2. So we ended up getting a few stories that way, which were very, very interesting stories. I'll tell you what, if you didn't get the chance, go listen to season 2. I won't tell you what episode because they're all great. But not only did we upgrade our attitude and our want to perform better, I kind of also upgraded software. And you will not believe the difference in free software versus paid software. The learning curve was a little shaky, but that's why we put out Tales from an Old Man. So that was our trial run with the new program, and I think it turned out really well. It seemed to be a crowd favorite, believe it or not, from what I've heard.
That was something that for me I thought was so cool to have you guys coming into season 2. So it's like, hey, like there wasn't even really that much of a gap. It was like maybe like a couple of months that you guys were off after Hillside.
A couple of months, yeah.
Yeah, and then you came in with, Tales from an Old Man, the Ballad of Blasphemous Bill, which
Blasphemous Bill is fun.
I love them all. Obviously, A Telltale Heart's really fun as well, but
Classic.
the Ballad of Blasphemous Bill is
That's a gruesome one. I mean, that's a hard one to stomach sometimes. And like I said, even in the intro of for that short series, everything I said to you was true. It's like these are stories that my dad read to us when we were kids. He loved those old cringy, dirty, gory stories from the Yukon. And there was one guy that wrote them so miserably well, and that's why those ones have stuck with us for so long. So starting season 2 with those old stories that have stuck with us for so long, I think has given us that motivation to jump into that season with extra vigor, for the lack
extra
of my
vigorous. Like
yeah.
you guys just came out of the gate swinging. Like
Yeah.
like the first couple of episodes for season 1, like they were great, but coming out of the gate with those 3, and then Liam, which is kind of very much a paranormal story. Well,
It was
not kind of paranormal story.
It was
It is a
very paranormal.
story, dummy. It was just, it felt really different. It felt more like, okay, like now they're kind of getting into really what they want to be about, and then looking at Day Worker, looking at Scary Corp, which is still
Scary Corp was fun.
I think that's still my favorite episode. I
fun.
loved the season finale. Like, I loved it, but I still think Scary Corp might be my favorite.
Honestly, I think, speaking of favorite stories, we did do one of our stories together.
We did.
Had that collab story.
Yeah.
Too late. I'm doing it.
That was something that was so cool. I was going to bring that up because.
Well, that kind of kicked off part of our season 2 as well, because we fired that bad boy off right after Liam. I mean, not even a couple of days after.
Mm-hmm.
It was what, 2 or 3 days afterward?
Yeah.
Because we had the 29th and then the 31st was the story that you fired off.
Which I'm going to tell you guys the backstory on this real quick. So I am very careful with who I get involved with now, as far as with doing podcast projects and things of that nature. Just, because I've been unfortunately burned in the past. So I'm very careful, and I tend to be very guarded when it comes to my content and the production of my content and things of that nature.
That's fair.
But I immediately, after hearing, all of season 1, but then also, I can't remember if I messaged you right after the Ballad of Blasphemous Bill, if it was just before, because I know there wasn't a lot of leeway time.
I think it was just after, actually. Mm-hmm. No, it was after we had put out the Telltale Heart.
Was it?
That was that was at the end of September, because then we only had like
a month to do it.
We had 3 weeks to do it.
Yeah, right.
3 weeks from conception to release, which was interesting, and that was cool. I like the time constraint on that one. Luckily, we had the first couple of episodes already done, so I had time for you.
Mm-hmm. And if it didn't, well, and that's what it was. I think after hearing Hillside, I was like, okay, like he definitely has because doing sound design for, like, you're a brilliant sound design, soundscape creator. Like, that's something about you that I really
appreciate that.
Love and appreciate and admire. Not to mention a lot of other things, but that's one of them.
Well, that's not for this podcast.
That's the R-rated version coming soon to Patreon.
It's the after 9 o'clock. Oh, it is after 9.
It's actually after 9 o'clock. So
dang,
after 9. But yeah, like, I think then hearing Tales from an Old Man, like, I was kind of like, it took it to another level for me. I was like, you know what? I would trust Tanner to do this, which I would trust him to not only do the sound design for this, but also, like, just do his thing. And then I would put it out on my feed, which I'm like, that's not something I would do for just anyone. Like, I'm very protective of my shit.
That's what you should be. You have some just wonderful stories under your belt. I mean, I've read quite a few stories that you've put out on the Dread Files, and I've already asked you before, let me take these stories and produce them, and you were like, no. And I was hurt. I felt like, so bad.
Suck ass. No. Listen, I'll tell you this. I appreciate that. Thank you. Stuff's happening right now. I don't want to get into it, but let's just say the time might come for that. But we'll talk. We'll talk.
I know
later.
they can't see the look on my face, but
Has big open mouth.
Ooh.
Yeah, no.
That's
well,
the giggly
and I know
wiggly
there's
face
one
there.
story in particular you really wanted to do, and I was like, at the time, I was like, so it was a part of a series that just
the
flopped
series
miserably.
one.
So I was
No. Let's make it not flop, my friend.
yeah.
We
So
can
I
make
was like
something
kind of
fun
like
out
down,
of it.
and I was all like down and out about it, and I went back and read it the other day, and I was like, this is a good fucking story. This is a good monster. Like, man, like Anyway, it's beside the point.
Continue. We're back on we were here producing your Halloween story is what we were
Yes.
doing.
Look at this guy bringing me back on my own podcast here.
That's
But
right,
so
there's two of
I'm going
us.
to tell you guys the story real quick so I wanted to do something for Halloween. I like to do my own stories now on the podcast, as I like to do narration stuff once in a blue moon. And I was like, what am I going to do this year? Like I'm a month out. I don't have any ideas. I don't have any new stories that I've written that I think are good enough to use. I was like, what am I going to do? And I had this story I wrote last year called A Cold Wind Blows on Halloween Night. Kind of a teen-ish
nightmare drama thing.
Yeah, that kind of like, very, very juvenile in a lot of regards, but then also some pretty serious gore, and
it almost ended up being kind of a slasher film.
Kind of like a paranormal slasher film.
Yeah.
One of those is this really happening? Is it not happening? Like, what's going on?
Is this just her going bonkers?
Is this person just going crazy, or is she actually hearing a voice? Like, one of those things. So I was like, you know what? I think there's something here, but I realized I couldn't do it myself. So I messaged Tanner this big long message and was like, hey, so think we could make this happen? And you were like, let's do it.
Absolutely. That was the time.
Mm-hmm. And it turned out better than I could have ever imagined. I remember listening to it for the first time and just being even more blown away than I thought I was going to be.
Oh,
which,
buddy.
It was. And then we had some pretty killer voice talent as well.
Yeah, we did.
Whoever played whoever played the voice in the wind, that guy's got some serious chops.
Does. He's got the lungs, the range, the everything, the creepiness. It was beautiful. I was impressed. I mean, I listening to that recording, I just was like, you know what, I could do this and this and this and that, and it'll be perfect. And that's kind of what we shot for with it. And I think it turned. And then the whole you have to wear headphones thing, that was cool too.
Because you don't get the full
floppy. Yeah.
So I had a friend of mine was like, oh, like this was really great, and I was like, how do you listen to it? And they were like, oh, I listened on like in my car. And I'm like, dude, put on headphones and listen to it again. Yep. I promise you it makes it into a completely different. And he messaged me back like an hour later, and he was like, dude, your performance was actually kind of terrifying. And I was like, I can't take all the credit, because Tanner did some wonderful stuff. And then also, being the voice of Corey.
Yeah, he was kind of a schlub, kind of a whiny baby. Well, I mean, I don't know why old girl was going for him. He's a bum.
He's a really attractive man, basically. That's
well, you picked the right guy to play the attractive man.
I was like, listen, I need an attractive man with like a nice voice who sounds like he's gonna he's just a good guy. Aww. And he's super attractive. So I'm like, well, I may ask Tanner.
Okay.
Big shout out as well to Rebecca, Sam, and Liliana for lending their voices as well to that.
And Liliana was, she was the old main character, and she killed it. I was not ready for that kind of performance. Not necessarily from her, but just I was not ready at all. And I knew I'd talked to her before, and I knew that well, no, I don't think I did. I don't think I had talked to her until then. Maybe briefly.
Maybe I think she popped in. There was one time we were in voice chat for the other podcast, and she popped in. I know I was in the chat because she specifically wanted to talk to me because she thought I was like super knowledgeable on shit. So,
what?
Oh no, she thought I was super knowledgeable on shit.
Right.
So she was like asking me all these questions, and I was like, I am not the person to ask this. Like, she thought I was like a voice actor or something. I was like, I'm not the person to ask this.
I don't know. I think that's right.
I was like, that sounds right to me. I thought you were in that conversation, and it's beside the point.
Anyhow.
But
she killed it though. Without the voice actors, man, there's no way I can't do what I do without some solid recordings. I mean, all I can do is make things interesting. You got to have the bulk.
I think you do such a wonderful job with that. And just to go back for a second, one of the episodes we already mentioned was Scary Corp episode 3.
Yep.
And I think for me, just to give some shout outs again, Arthur Uncantori Miller wrote that story, and it was like that was for your guys' podcast.
Absolutely.
I could not picture, like, sometimes like you'll listen to like a narration thing and you'll be like, oh, I'd love to maybe hear someone else try this too. Like, just to be like, it's always interesting to hear people narrate things. But for me, I was like, nope, CM Peters is the computer.
Yep.
Tanner is Griffin. Like, there's no,
It's
just
Griffin.
And from a performance standpoint, you did a killer job.
That was
with
fun.
The accent, man.
I had a good time with that. I mean, I love doing accents. I mean, I'm not very good at some of them, but there's a couple I can get pretty good. I do kind of apologize for the that weird, goofy Romanian thing that I tried to do for the intro to Liam. It was kind of embarrassing. I tried to do like a kind of a normalized intro into like a spooky one. Ooh, it's Halloween. But it didn't work out. So that accent I won't be doing again.
Listen,
but
I know how much shit I did back in the day that I just...
Oh, you just embarrassed stuff.
Anytime someone says, like, I think it was Rebecca pretty recently, was like, oh, I'm going back to episode 1 and listening all the way through. And I was like, please don't.
Oh, dear Lord, no, please no.
Don't. Start like at least episode 100 and go forward. I'm like, you're not going to miss anything in the first 100 episodes. You're really not. There's some great stuff in there. Don't get me wrong. Like, I had some great guests and stuff. But I'm like, if you see that it's just me in the episode, just move on.
Just move on.
The first 10 episodes, just skip them. At least start there. Like, just... She's like, no, I'm going to get the vibe of the whole thing. And I was like, please don't. Like, just... So I feel you. But it's also cool to be able to look back and be like, wow, like, look at how much we've grown. And from like the start of season 2 to the end, I saw growth in there. And it was so awesome to watch.
Yeah, I think all of us really did. I mean, and I think we planned our submitted episodes that way because we knew that we were going to get better. And I'll say this, I know we had, excuse me, another, 2 stories from a wonderful writer, and he's going on his way towards Hollywood scripts, believe it or not. Not because of us, but because of his own will and determination. And we've just been kind of out there putting his things out into the world. Jason Porras, he submitted 2 stories to us. He wrote the Spread of Love and Life's a Park and Then You Die, which was our season finale. But we kind of planned these episodes in such a way that we can get better at them and then do these stories justice, and that's the hardest thing to do as a producer is like you read the script and you hear the voice actors perform it. And the scariest part is actually, shit, can I actually put this together to where it actually reflects the hard work that the writer put into it, the hard work that the voice actors put into it? I mean, they're relying on the producer to make it happen and put it all together. And that's the scariest part of all that. But I think, just being able to get that experience throughout the season and do these writers' stories justice was just great. And working with all of them, I don't know. I didn't ever think that we would progress like we have been. And I think that's amazing. Not to get all mushy and weird, but I get emotional when I think about it.
I get it.
I'm gonna cry now.
It's okay, man. It's okay. Bring it in.
Yeah.
But like from someone who, was a part of the conversation in a way when you guys were even talking about doing this, like to then now see from an outsider's perspective, but then also as someone who was, blessed to be able to be a part of season 2, like
you absolutely killed it. Thank you very much.
Again, I'm gonna get to that.
The contribution, my friend. Killing it.
It was.
I know you're trying to do this voice acting thing, man, and I think you absolutely underestimate yourself. I really do, and I think you absolutely underrepresent yourself as a voice actor.
Oh, geez. Well, I mean, thank you for saying that.
It's
when people
going on
say
your
things
podcast.
like that,
it's public now.
Listen, what I said and the what the hell was it for? The year anniversary, was that the spread of love? Was that the
yeah,
must have been spread of love.
Yeah,
I know it wasn't Bait and the Hunter, so must have been spread of love.
I think it was spread of love.
What I said, what I said in there about, you know, you guys being a big part of me getting into this more. That was for real. That wasn't a joke. That wasn't me just kissing ass. Like, you guys really have.
It's not because we sent you the script for it.
Yeah, no,
and expected you to just read it.
Well, you know, let's. I appreciate what you're saying. All I was saying was just like, from me, watching your guys' progression has been so wonderful, because like I knew right away, because like I said, man, I think I had this conversation with you before too, where I was like, look, I'm not someone who promotes podcasts anymore in any way unless I genuinely believe in the people, because I've been burned so many times where I'm like, oh, hey, guys, I have these people on the podcast, check out their podcast. And then like literally 2 days later, they quit doing podcasts altogether. Like,
you're like, well, now I feel dumb.
Yeah. So it's like, it's happened so many times. So I'm very careful. And it's been so wonderful to watch you guys just continue to just kick ass. I come into the Discord, which, by the way, guys, if you're on Discord and aren't on Baseline Feed,
check out the Baseline Feed Discord.
Because
we'll help you with voice acting things, and maybe write your own story, and maybe play some games, some horror games, Phasmophobia. That's not how you say it, but Phasmophobia. Make you pee your pants at your computer at night.
Because who doesn't want
and
to
then laugh about it
at their computer?
What, you don't? It's the only place I pee my pants.
It's the only place I got a cup. Come on. I'm a civilized person. I pee into a Gatorade bottle. I pee into a damn Gatorade bottle.
I prefer the old wide mouth mason jar.
Oh, well, that works too.
It's a ball jar. Excuse me. It's ball. It's not mason.
I wish this was a video podcast again, folks, because he literally just held up a mason jar. But
that's a ball. It's
sappy stuff out of the way. It's just been wonderful to watch you guys just keep kicking ass, progressing. I come into the Discord and you're on there editing, and I'm seeing in real time the progression, and how much progression you have made as a producer in just over a year is insane.
Oh, it's bonkers, man.
Because you had no background in this beforehand, right? If I remember correctly.
Not even. Well, I did I did some like 10-second video editing stuff in high school, but that was about it. And that was what? I don't even know what year. 13 years ago. So no, we'll say that no, I didn't have any experience. Didn't go to school for it. I picked up just watching videos, man. Just like anybody gets degrees nowadays. You just watch shit on YouTube. It's out there. You got to find it. You just got to commit to it. And that's kind of what we've done. Like, we figured that we wanted to tell stories. I became friends with some writers. And we wanted to make it sound cool as hell. And with their encouragement and dedication, we've done it.
I'll agree with that. I'll say that you guys have done it too. You know?
I think so.
I think so. Absolutely.
My grandma thinks it's cool.
That's awesome.
That's what matters to me. My grandma listens to it. She's like, "Oh, you're doing so good. I love you so much." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, Granny."
That's awesome.
Yeah,
so
that's
when
not
she making an appearance then? Come on. When's it going to happen?
Oh, geez. I don't know if I can get her in the booth. She's about 18 hours south of me. So,
well, you know,
she's down on the phone. Maybe.
Bro, write a story where someone has to call in from somewhere and just use that.
That's a great idea. Yes.
Yeah. Make it work. Make it work. That'd be cool as shit.
Oh, I'm going to sneak one in. I'm going to make it happen. We're going to get Granny on the show.
That would be awesome. But you brought up the obviously, you know, me being a part of the season. Obviously, I want to talk about it because I'm, you know,
You should. That's why you should. Shameless plugging, my friend.
Shameless plugging on my
That's why you have your own podcast.
I'm supposed to be talking about you and baseline, but we're talking about baseline. It's still the same thing. I was I'm sure I already told you this, but I'm going to tell you on air too, and I'm pretty sure I already talked about this on the show. But I was terrified when you guys sent me the script for Widow's Walk, like beyond terrified. And maybe I didn't tell this. I'm telling this for the first time
because it was a big part, or
number one, it was a big part.
Okay,
it was co-lead with CM, who I have a ton of fucking respect for. Yeah, because I'm like, awesome. Yo, like she does this for a living. Like I know it's a different type of voiceover, but it's still in the realm,
right?
So absolutely. I'm like, holy shit! Like this is big boy territory now. Holy
I'm
shit.
over here rolling my eyes and my head. Ugh.
Because beforehand I had a little part in Music is Blood Memory. And I was like, I'm cool here. Like, let me do these little parts. Like I'm cool there, you know? And then it's like, hey, we want you to do this. And I was like, I was kind of terrified. And then I read the next part of the message, which was more what scared me. And by the way, I'm saying this as it was scared me in a good way. It was terrifying in a good way. It said, basically, we want your speaking voice. Like we just want TJ Hodder to do this part, basically.
We want the loving TJ Hodder.
Which was the best way to explain it to me, because I would have been like overselling it too much. I would have been overacting it if it wasn't explained that way. But Sam did such a great job, like breaking it down for me too. And I was like, oh, it's just my voice for this part. And I'm like, yeah, that was terrifying because I'd never just used my voice for something before, right? Even for the creepy stuff I do at like Christmas time and Halloween and stuff for the podcast. Like,
which, by the way, is sick.
Thank you.
It's super fun to listen to, man.
I appreciate it. I was terrified because I was like, dude, like I'm not like, I always equate it to like TJ Hodder as a person. Sure, like there's some stuff. I have some cool hobbies and stuff like that, but overall, I'm just a guy. To play when I'm like, okay, hey, I'm going to step into the role of this person for this creepy story, or I'm going to step into the role of what the hell was that character's name for episode 5 in It to Win It? Cross-eyed something.
Oh God, I don't even remember. But it was honestly, I don't think that any of those characters had actual names.
No,
because
you just like had to pull it out of your butt.
Yeah, well, it was originally a screenplay, believe it or not, written by one of our management guys, his friend, and yeah, it was that was a weird one. I mean, I won't go through all the names that were actually on the script, but yeah, I think doing those character acting things are much more entertaining to do than, and I hate saying it this way, not because it's a typecast thing, but because it sounds awful when you say typecast, but like that Aaron character was made for you, essentially. Like when you read that, you're like, this is TJ. That's my boy. I need him,
Well, I mean, but it is saying that because he's a very endearing character. Like, he is.
Oh,
that's
wonderful.
A pretty good compliment.
He's caring and he sacrifices his life for his. Oh, wait. Okay, we'll let other people listen to it.
Go listen to episode 4, season 2, because it's a great episode from the standpoint of, you were talking earlier about, these voice actors trusting you to, Well, I was blown away, dude.
Widow's Walk was actually produced and all that by CM.
Right. Yes.
She was the one that, right. She had put that together, and I think she did a killer job.
She did. Yeah, the sound design, the music, like it was just, everything was on point.
Yep.
It was great.
Well, that's what we intend to do. Like, we want to support our voice actors. We want to support our producers. We want to support, what did I say? Writers, voice actors. Fuck it, everybody involved. I mean, that's what we're here for. Yeah. I mean, we're all about supporting people and making them better, or at least providing an environment where they can be more creative. Anyway, what I was saying about the whole the character voicing things, those are much more fun, more entertaining, sure. More so than the typecast stuff, because being yourself as somebody else is a lot tougher to do than getting in the mindset of having, yeah, I'm talking like an old man, like I'm going to be the old guy next door. Or just, hey, I'm me and I'm going to stab somebody in the neck. Like that's a lot more difficult to get into the mindset of. And I think you did a really good job of that with, not that you were stabbing anybody in the neck in Widow's Walk, but that would be terrible.
That would have been a total
left
turn for that character.
Yeah. He's all
Aaron
loving
goes crazy
and
and stabs someone in the neck. What?
yeah.
No,
like who's he going to stab though? Hopefully not his wife because she's pregnant and stuff. But
spoiler alert.
Oops.
No, but like, and that's
like,
tough.
Me, and I think you killed it.
Fun, right? It's like I had that trepidation where I was like, this is just me being this person who's kind of sort of like we're on the same wavelengths. I get it.
Yeah.
But also, like, one of my friends, like when they listened to it, they were like, he was like, oh man, like I can't help but chuckle. And I was like, yeah, I know, like I suck. And he's like, no. Like, he's like, because it's you. But he's like,
shit
I know you would never say this in a million years. There's one line in particular where he's just like, I can't picture hearing you say that. But like the way you delivered it was like, you're just saying it to Sam, my wife. So he was like, It was so cool to hear. And I was like, okay, that's all right. Yeah, it was a wonderful experience. And you guys were so encouraging. And yeah, I can't, if you're a voice actor out there and you're thinking about, or you're an aspiring voice actor,
or you just want to give it, or if you just want to give it a shot. I mean, see what you can do, see how it feels.
Well,
again, like that's for another podcast.
Yeah, again, that's the Patreon exclusive content.
That is correct.
But like then, just the last episode that I was a part of, with season 5, excuse me, episode 5, season
not
2,
there yet.
We already kind of talked. It's coming.
Well, it is, but we got to get season 3 first.
We're a ways away yet. Let's not go too far ahead. Right. But yeah, that was such a crazy episode, and I just love the story of. I had no idea how this dude was going to sound, and from what I can remember,
well, you're talking about Mo. Okay,
yeah,
you're talking about In It to Win It. Then,
yeah,
okay,
he was kind of just like, hey, like, just like, does anything come to mind when you're? And I was like, well, who is this guy? Like, well, he's just some cross-eyed idiot, I think was the name. So I crossed my eyes and I was like, all right, how would I sound if I was some idiot buying lottery tickets? And immediately I just started slurring and
and it worked out. And those are fun ones to do, man.
Yeah. When you get to do that. And I'm really excited for season 3. Like, I don't want to say anything too much yet, but let's just say there's a little.
I know that I've told you before, and this was between season 1 and 2. And even after the Tales from an Old Man that we put out, I know that I was like, hey man, get psyched for season 2, right? And I'm going to continue on that hype train. I don't sound very hype right now, but that's okay. I try to live my life kind of in the middle. Not too high, not too low. It's just more simple that way. But do you remember how I said, get excited for season 2?
Yep.
You need to get fucking hyped for season 3 because I shit you not, someone's is gonna shit their pants when they listen to this, man.
That's a guarantee.
I mean, we have amazing stories lined up for season 3. We have an entirely new presentation for season 3. I think I'll say. But before we get to that, we have another little series showing up written by one of our own, and that's going to be real fun. I think you're also part of that. Just a few lines here and there.
Possibly. I don't recall, but possibly.
You definitely are.
Okay. Is it the one story I think it is?
Yes, the ones with the mountains and
very
the
good.
Horses.
Okay, very good.
That's all I'm going to tell you because it ain't out yet. So you guys get to hold on to your butts.
Let's just say I get to play a character again, and I'm really excited. Not that I don't like just being me, but
playing characters is fun.
I get to do a silly voice again. I get to do a silly voice, and I get to play kind of a piece of shit. So it's really exciting for me.
He's a piece of work. Shit. Yeah, he's a piece of work. He really messes up the whole adventure.
Quite literally.
Yeah, but we're for season 3, we're gonna mix it up. We have an amazing lineup of writers. We have someone that doing some hella writing for us. We're gonna redo our intro. I think that's how I'm supposed to say it. We're gonna retool our intro. There we go, and we'll find a way to connect our stories a little bit better than season 2. Yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna say about that. It may remind you of a little something else that we used to be involved with. A different project. But yeah, I think you're going to like it. I think you guys are going to love this one. Get psyched, get pumped. We have a lot more new voice actors actually coming in. And I don't know, am I allowed to name drop on here?
You can do whatever you want.
Oh, okay. Well, we got we'll just say for the next upcoming series. It's a 3-part series, I guess. And so for that, we have our boy Neil Skarupa. You know him, right? You've worked with him a little bit. From what is the neurotic?
Neurotic voice, not necrotic voice.
It's
neurotic voice.
It's almost spelled like necrotic, but it's neurotic without the C. Yeah, there you go. Necrotic without the C. Voice. Neil's a really good guy. I like him. I love his voice. We have Chris Schultz, who we know him as SigCorp on Discord. Cool guy. Very fun. He's from Alaska, which is helpful in this story. And then we have a gentleman from Fort Myers, Florida. His name is Channon Carruthers. Interesting character. He's actually also done he does a lot of video editing, which is interesting. He's proficient in that, shown some interest in voice acting as well, so we want to give him a shot for some of those things. He's really enthusiastic guy. So that's cool.
It's always cool to add fresh blood to things heading into a new season.
Yeah, it is.
And yeah, just speaking on Neil, like he's done some stuff for Tapes Trepidation over on the Hot Show Patreon, and
he has.
He is way too talented to not be doing more stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there's some people, well, and it's really cool to do this kind of thing, and then you find those people who are underutilizing themselves. You, for example. Neil, for example. I wouldn't necessarily say Liliana, for example, but Liliana, for example. I mean, she's kind of pursuing that kind of work in a different way. I think she's going more for like screen work.
Because she's not that the other voice actors aren't actors, quote unquote, by trade, right. But she is a trained
that's kind of her
by trade. So
that's what she do.
Kind of doing the other thing, but also I hope to see her do more voice work because.
Oh, absolutely.
She was the MVP for me for Tapes Trepidation over on the Hot Show Patreon. She's done 5 stories for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we've got Becca, we've got Mo, we got Evan, we got Daniel. God, who else? I think Arthur's done a couple of things for us as well.
Yeah, Arthur did some stuff. Okay, cool.
Arthur Oak.
Eric.
Don't. Oof. Thank you. I can't forget Eric Phones. Now, if we want to talk about people who are getting invested into the voice acting work and really and they trying their asses off, let's give a shout out to Eric Phones. I mean, he's come a long way, even from just when I first met the guy. I mean, he's already done some screen work before, but I think that, not to say off screen, but like the voice acting thing, he's got a real knack for it. I think he did, like we were talking about before, Scary Corp. He was the poor guy that fucking got killed a whole bunch of times, and I think he performed that pretty well.
He killed again. I can't picture anyone else doing that.
Nope.
Like it's got to be him now. And even with Eric, like I had Eric on the show, folks, not that long ago, so go check it out. Wonderful, wonderful guy, super talented. And I didn't know that Breadbox, episode 5 of Tapes Trepidation over on the Horror Show Patreon.
Yeah, I was on that too.
His first, technically, like his first foray into voice acting at all. And I was like,
So you're telling me the first thing you did was this weird ass story that kind of made no sense and like was just weird. And it needed acting. Like he needed to be able to act to perform that role.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of like, yeah, that's my first one. And I was like, I
Couldn't
wouldn't
even
have
tell.
known that. And that's like the best compliment I can give him.
Yeah.
He just killed it.
It's like you would never have known he's never done it before.
Mm-hmm.
Or before that.
Yeah, but then also like looking at stuff that he did, I mean, Bait, for example, that was kind of all him, wasn't it? Like he.
Yeah, Bait was 99.9% him. I mean, there was one line from Julia Wood, and then one from
Cassidy Morris.
Cassidy Morris. Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
I keep wanting to call him Casanova, but I just keep hearing him called Cass, and that's it. But he did a really good job. And speaking of kids on our podcast, not to be construed in the improper way, there are children roles in some of our stories, and we have been able to utilize my daughter, and she loves it, by the way. She actually played Liam in season 2, episode 1, and then the child of meat, one of the characters in gross.
I was just about to bring that up. We're gonna get to that for sure because I want to. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But
she was the that character in our most recent episode, and this kid. I mean, talk about voice actors who have no clue what their talent is like. I don't want to brag, but I'll do it anyway. My daughter is amazing. Bailey Wood is the coolest, most directable kid you can ever meet. And her accents are fucking on point. Every time. And it's weird.
There's a future there.
There might be.
I'm telling you, like
she's got something, man.
Bailey did an amazing job.
And you should hear her read books to her little sister. Because I now have, congratulations. Yay. We survived 4 months of my youngest being born.
Whoop, whoop.
So she's 4 months now. And my oldest, she's 8 years. She likes reading stories to her little sister. And just the way that she reads these stories to her. And she does voices for all of the characters. Like, I was doing that for her when she was little. So I guess she kind of got the idea from that to do that for her little sister. And I think she picked up on it really well. And maybe she's got like you said, she's got a future in something like this. I mean, if that's something that she want to do, I'm not going to push her into it because that would be terrible. But I'll definitely support it if she wants it.
I think that there's a future there if
I think she might.
To. I genuinely
in something like that. I mean, something in that area. There's
in the acting world or something.
Yeah,
you never know. You never know.
She keeps telling me she wants to be an artist, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, voice acting is technically art, so if you think
get in the booth, kid,
get in the booth, shove her in there, slam the door. It's like, quit peeking, turn the gain down.
Oh man, but just let's just jump into it there. Episode 11, season finale, Life's a Park and Then You Die. You were mentioning, obviously, Bailey was a child of meat. That freaking episode was,
oh my gosh,
just insane, dude.
Oh
my
boy,
gosh,
was that one fun.
Amazing.
I think the coolest thing that was said to me about that story was he was almost like a Goosebumps book. Like he was one of those, like, where you just show up and you're like, well, this is my world now. And everything is kind of right, but it's that little bit of wrong. Like we would read the little Goosebumps books, pick your own adventure thing. But like this is basically that, is pick your own adventure, because obviously she had choices. But at the same time, she really didn't have choices, the main character of the story. And again, one of the stories written by Jason Porras. Wonderful story. Wonderfully written. So that kind of helps on the production side if you get those extra pointers from the writer. No, continue. You were saying. Give us more compliments. Come on.
Well, I was just going to say, like, like you had told me, hey man, like episode, like season finale, like this is gonna be crazy, and I was kind of like, okay, cool, we'll see. And then I heard you working on the line with the scary clown. Shout out to Katie Tatchery, who just like amazing, terrifying, but then also like kind of seductive and stuff.
Well,
like,
I mean, it was
did a great job.
She did do a fine job of playing the sexy clown. We'll give her that much.
The sexy, terrifying clown. Let's.
Yeah, it was kind of terrifying. Yeah,
and
it was
obviously
definitely terrifying.
Yeah, obviously, huge shout outs to CM for just doing an incredible job. It was like that role was like written for her. Yeah. Honestly, like she did an amazing job.
Speaking of people improving over the season, I mean, this is by far, I think, her best performance.
I agree.
So far. Yeah. I mean, obviously, we have loads of stories to go, and we're only going to get better. But big shout outs to her.
Yeah, she did an incredible job. But like, even like the soundscape that you created for this world, it's an amusement park, right? Like,
yeah.
But
is it
there's other stuff going on. Like, it's so. I'm listening going like, yo, like I'm picking up things in the background that I'm like, man, he really spent all that time to like level that. So it's like in the background a bit more.
It's kind of
like,
there.
You can tell, like I can tell when I listen to something, it's like, oh, this is something that they created. They didn't just go on YouTube and type in like amusement park ambience. It's like, no. He started off with like a roller coaster sound and then did like this other thing. And it was just
you got to add the wind at just the right time. Yeah. You got to add the little. I wanted it, and I didn't add enough. I didn't add enough crows, and I messed up. And I apologize to everybody for that. I entirely missed a whole opportunity. But yeah, it's just adding those little tiny things, and it takes it to that next level. The scene with the bumper cars. Was, I think, that was the most pain in the ass thing to create, because you can find sound effects for like things bumping into each other, sure, but finding enough that are close enough to each other to make it feel like it's more than one car, obviously, and then finding just the right wheel squeal on that flat cement. Ugh. There's that's the me being raised in the South kind of crap coming out.
It comes out once in a while. Eh?
It does. We always called it cement.
Cement.
Well, my mother's from Georgia. My dad was raised in Texas, so sometimes that stuff comes out a little bit. I apologize. It just feels weird. But yeah, just finding that perfect wheel squeal on the cement right before that bumper car crashes into another one. Is just, I mean, that makes it, and it's exciting to do that.
There's nothing better than when you find just the sound effect. That is, it is like its own form of a drug.
Oh, it's
like
great.
Just when you're like, I need a door opening. That's like the other day. I was literally walking around on. Yeah. I had my headphone in on Discord, and I opened this door, and I was like, oh. I was like, hang on, guys. Look, can you hear this?
Oh.
I think Neil was like,
I don't hear anything.
And I was like, no, but like listen, Neil, listen.
Listen to this door specifically.
Picture you're in a room and you're alone and you're in your bed, and all of a sudden you hear and you're like, oh, it's just my wife. But then you realize you live alone.
There's only one footstep.
I was like, we could ad-lib something?
You realize it's the sound of a body falling out of your closet.
And then it turns out that you can see the body, and it's not someone you recognize.
You flip on the backlight of your phone. The light shines and reflects back from its eyes.
But they're not the eyes of a human, but something different.
I think that's it. That's scary as hell, bro. That's so scary.
Look at that, folks. That was live. Like, just come on. That'd be terrifying. All of a sudden, the body falls out of your thing. You look at
We
it,
gotta
and it
write
has the
that.
eyes that aren't.
We should write
eyes of
that.
Human. You should write that. I mean, it's
dude.
here.
Okay,
Here live.
so I did for an example for Evan, because he does a lot of work formatting stories from.
Yes, big shouts to Evan.
Yeah, Evan Jaffe. He's my boy. He's headed off to officer school here very soon. He's the biggest hero I've ever met. Well, I've never actually physically met the guy, but he's pretty cool. But there was a short, like 4-line story that I wrote for him, just to get like an example of how we're looking to get things formatted. Because when we get submissions, they're not always in like radio play format. So we have a team that formats them over to radio play, so it's actually producible in like our, podcast audio format. But I put together something for him, and I don't know if I can find it. It was something real short about this guy and this other girl who were walking on a dock. Oh, that is not it. That's a picture of me. I'm looking through his messages.
That's a picture of me.
Yeah,
that's
we
my
sent
foot for some reason.
Yeah, there's a wrench. There we go.
There's a wrench.
I'm gonna send this to you really quick if I can. You ready?
Where are you sending it to?
On your Discord.
This is live, folks.
This is very live right here.
Okay.
See it?
Yep. Okay.
Right. So
let me open the browser so I can zoom in a bit. Okay.
So I'll be Eric, and you be Brandy. Okay.
Okay.
So going off of this weird, creepy thing falling out of your closet, and you're like, I don't know what the fuck this is, right? So this could be added to this little script. We're going to perform this for you, okay? So, exterior, a boat dock, midday. So they're running. These people are like, they're jogging. Shit, I didn't realize the dock was so far from the park. Maybe we should have planned to be here by 3 instead of noon.
Well, maybe you should have kept up your training this summer.
Both laugh, but are soon startled by a loud noise on one of the boats in the harbor. They look at each other and slowly move towards the noise to check it out. They arrive and step onto the boat.
I took my line a bit. Maybe you shouldn't just walk onto someone's boat like that, Eric.
Honestly, I don't give a shit. If there's one of those things out here, I'm going to make sure it doesn't make more. Eric whips out his shotgun and loads 3 shells while shushing Brandy. Shh. Sounds of the thing are heard shuffling through supplies on the boat.
And that's when you realize it's not a thing, but a being with eyes that are different from humans. Yes, yeah.
Wow, that was not flattering at all.
I should have just left it alone.
Yeah, we got to work on the delivery there, or on the verbiage. But that's good. Like we can do something there, you know.
Oh man, that was actually a lot of fun. I never see like my whole thing is I'm always like I would read that over like 150 times.
No,
I'm surprised I didn't flub one line there because I'm not great at reading and talking.
That's good. You're a very good Brandy.
Really surprised.
You're very good Brandy.
I'm a good Brandy.
I don't know. She's a fine girl and she's at the port. Like, I don't know.
Hey, Brandy, you're a fine girl and she's at the port. I'm all for it.
She's probably going to be a good wife one day.
Lol.
Anyway, back to your show.
That was fun. I appreciate it. That was some good content for the show, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But just to kind of slowly, as we're wrapping things up here today, I have to ask.
Yes.
Season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Give me your favorite episode?
So my favorite episode for season 2. Oh boy, there's so many good ones in here. Wow. Now, in terms of like story itself, or are you talking like production itself?
Overall.
Overall.
You got to pick one overall.
Oof.
So I'm sure you probably like, I like the story of this one more. I like the production.
I know,
of this one
yeah.
More.
That's kind of the toss up I run into. Yeah. Okay. Well, and this is just me being self-indulgent. I love Scary Corp. I mean, it's probably my favorite because it was the weirdest one. I had the most fun producing it. Just because of there's a short scene with Griffin Utley and Worker 469 in Director Morgan's office after he finds the key and then the password underneath the keyboard, where he's watching this video of himself being killed multiple times, like over and over again. And creating that video was interesting because it was just like a couple of lines that said, insert video of Worker 469 being killed multiple times, continues playing underneath dialogue, right? So creating a video or in like sound of this dude dying so many different times was kind of weird because based on the story, you can only kill people so many different ways in that setting. But I went onto Discord and I just kind of put an open call into our voice channel or whatever that we were in. And I got some weird ways to die. So one of them was a paper shredder, right? So you're over there, you're shredding papers and your tie gets stuck. So your guy gets pulled into the paper shredder, and that would be terrible. I'm never going to condone violence or anything like that. But for the story, it was fucking awesome. So then another one was being drowned in the office bathroom toilet. So like the swirly of death. So that got made. And then obviously a chainsaw. And then there was one that it involved a horse. And I don't know if you've ever seen the video of the guy who, well, maybe I won't describe it too well, but there was some interactions with the guy and the horse, and it was not pleasant. So that was part of that. And so all that got produced. That's probably my favorite part of that story. It's like actually putting those things together to make it sound like the awful things that happened to this poor guy, but also being the main narrator-ish character for that story was pretty fun. I got to play around with some accents like we talked about before. The character acting is a lot more fun than just, being yourself. I mean, I don't mind being myself, but playing that character and just giving this poor bastard a hard time through his entire existence and then making him live it over and over and over again, that was fun. So that's my favorite one, is probably Scary Corp. Love the guys that wrote it. Story was fun to produce.
Well, that's awesome, man. And I think for me, like I said, I go back and forth now between episode 3 and episode 11 because it was so great. But Scary Corp was really something special. It really was. I think that's the episode I show people when they're like, oh, like what's this Baseline Feed podcast? I'm like, check it out. Because I think it encapsulates what you guys are really all about. But so does, in my opinion, episode 11. It's kind of, they're different. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if someone's more of like a fan of, because in a lot of ways, Scary Corp has a lot of comedic elements too, right? So it's
it was written entirely as a comedy. Is the way it was. It was intended to be performed as a comedy,
right?
It was a tragic comedy there.
Yeah, exactly, right. So if they're more into like that kind of stuff, I'll be like, hey, here's this. But if they're more into like the epic storytelling, then I'll be like, hey, here's episode 11. Like,
well, I mean, if you want to talk about epic storytelling, you can go to The Spread of Love as well. It was a little bit more fast paced, and that's entirely my fault. But I think if you want to talk about epic storytelling, just because it goes from so many different points in time of this pandemic that's happening. And it's, there's a tragedy, there's sacrifice, there's, love, obviously, from the title. And yeah, there's just so many different things happening there. I think that's another good one to show them as well. And not only because I like to give Jason Porras big hugs, but hey, I'm a sucker.
Then also, if you want to listen to episode 4, that's pretty all right too.
Yeah.
Got to give myself some flowers.
You should. If I could send them to you and not cost me $25 to ship them, I would do it.
Yeah, then I'd have to pay like $40 at the border for them, so it's all good.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's ridiculous, dude.
Taxes are dumb.
Taxes are silly.
What is what is the stinking word? The tariffs on live flowers between our countries is awful. That's like a 50% tariff. It's stupid.
That's ridiculous. I don't actually know what the tariff for flowers is, but I imagine it's.
I'm sure it's pretty high.
It's probably ridiculous.
Yeah, it's way more than it should be. It's like I'm trying to send my buddy some roses here.
Why can't just man? Why does we gotta be like this? Just
now, if they were lower on like tulips or something,
then okay, yeah, that may be acceptable.
You probably don't even like tulips.
I actually wonder what the difference between tulips and roses would be in exchange rate and fucking.
I don't know, man.
At the border,
I'm sure it's something stupid.
Right. So you got some roses here. So that's gonna be a 37% markup. Well, how about tulips? Oh, tulips is a whole other conversation, man. That's about 12%.
Send all the tulips. He's getting them all.
Send the tulips. Oh, geez.
Send the 3 lips and the 4 lips too.
3 lips and the 4 lips. Oh boy, I like it. Well, Tanner, dude, thank you for coming on, man, and hanging out. And
well, thanks for calling me.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I appreciate you hopping on because it's always fun to get to talk to you and get to have a little bit more of what am I trying to say here? Oh
Personal.
My gosh,
personal,
a more direct conversation about certain things. Holy cow, that took a while. Here's a bunch of words in a row.
There's a word for that in English, I promise. Somewhere.
Oh shit. Well, folks, go check out Baseline Feed. Season 3 is going to be absolutely off the chain. You be rest assured that I will be sharing it when it comes out. And Tanner, where can the good people find Baseline Feed if they want to check it out?
We can find us on Instagram. I don't remember the tag because I don't manage it, but I'm sure if you Instagram search Baseline Feed Pod, I think is our Instagram thing. Baseline Feed Pod on Twitter, and then just check out our website, baselinefeed.com. I mean, that's a good way to get a hold of us. And I'm pretty sure we have a link to our Discord on there as well. That way you can grab some behind the scenes stuff, talk to us, learn your craft, whether it's writing or voice acting, or, I mean, if you want to, we can work on some production stuff. I mean, swap ideas, throw things around, make something fun, make something new. That's what we do.
And they do it very well, folks.
We try.
If you need something, you want to be a part of something cool, hit up Baseline Feed.
It's going to be big, TJ boys.
Sent you. Thanks a lot, man.
Yes, sir. Bye.
All right, folks, there you have it. My chat with Mr. Tanner Wood from Baseline Feed. What a wonderful conversation that was. I always have a blast talking with Tanner, and obviously this episode was absolutely no exception. Be sure to check out Baseline Feed. They got some cool stuff coming. And if you haven't checked out Season 2, I implore you to do so, because there is some fantastic content in there. And not just the 3rd episode, 4th episode, 5th episode, and 11th episode. There's a lot of great stuff there. But obviously, as you know, we were saying during this episode, episode 3 was wonderful. The season finale is wonderful. So go check them out. They really do a killer job over there, and they've got some super talented people, and they're also helping people get into the industry. So big ups to them. I have a ton of respect for the entire Baseline Feed crew, and of course Tanner as creators. And much love to everybody over at the Baseline Feed camp, and much love to you for listening. I seriously appreciate it. I hope that you have hit that subscribe button and you have left a rating, if you haven't, because it really helps this show grow. And also, if you're able to set up the show for automatic download, like on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if you use either of those, you can set up the show for automatic download. Then you don't even have to think about it. You'll wake up Thursday morning, boom, it's going to be there. So, something to consider, and that really helps the show out. Be sure to share this episode with your friends if you enjoyed it. We do have social media, Facebook and Instagram. I also have a Discord, which we talked about a little bit in this episode. So if you want to come join the Discord, come hang out with us. I'd love to see you on there. And if you would like to support the show a little more, go that one step further. Consider joining the Harder Show Patreon. That's right, I've got a Patreon, and there's going to be some changes coming to the Patreon in the next couple of months. However, there will be something going, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But for right now, for the next couple of months, if you join the Harder Show Patreon at the $5 or above tier, you will get access to my exclusive horror narration podcast, Tape to Trepidation, which I have way too much fun doing and is seriously taking on a life of its own. You might say it's almost consuming me in some ways. But anything above that $5 and above tier will get you access to that. $1 or above a month is going to get you an exclusive shout out on the show, as well as behind the scenes stuff and access to the Discord server, which the $5 and $10 tiers do allow you to get as well. And if you join that $10 tier, well, once I hit my goal of $100 for 2 months, I am going to launch a t-shirt store. And let's just say that the $10 patrons are going to get a discount for said merch if they so choose to buy some. And there may or may not be an exclusive t-shirt that only you guys can get. Who's to say? I'm not going to say for sure, but I'm going to say for sure. So, something to think about. www.patreon.com/The Harder Show. And now I think it is high time that I give a shout out to all of my wonderful patrons, my HUD heads. We have, of course, Scott Duquette, the OG, Ronan Komori from Baseline Feed, Wolf Delta Pi from Baseline Feed, aka Tanner Wood, Eric Phones, actor extraordinaire, Mike Quintero from Shutter Radio, CM Peters from Baseline Feed, also a fantastic author, Jason Reese from Jaybird Digital Arts, my man, guy who keeps all my graphics and interview tiles and logos looking absolutely fantastic, and the guy who designed the t-shirts that will be available in the store once I hit my goal that I mentioned a moment ago, Kelly Sisson, Terry and Janet Hodder, the really, in a direct way, the co-creators of The Harder Show, Brandon Bowden of Bowden Voice, Neil Skrupa of Neurotic Voice, and last but not least, the new guy on the block, Mr. Ian Hill. Thank you guys all so much for the support. It means the world to me. And for $1 a month, or more, of course, you can get a little shit like that at the end of every single episode of the show. And if you're a part of something that you want me to talk about or anything like that, I am happy to do so. The least I can do is give you a shout out and then shout something out that either you're working on or you have coming up. Let me know. I would happily do that for you guys. Absolutely no problem. But with that, we're going to sign off here today. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. And I will catch you next time right here on The Harder Show. Take it easy, guys.